Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flux here with a review for I Know What You Did Last Summer, the fourth feature film of the franchise and first legacy sequel. Now, let's put it up on Front Street. This franchise has always been kind of a big, dumb slasher franchise. It's never, certainly compared to the other films of its brethren in the 90s, this was kind of the dumb slasher franchise. But this time around, it takes that, ups the ante, and becomes completely and totally vapid. I didn't love this movie, and yet somehow it is still the second best installment of the franchise, which I think speaks more to the franchise and why maybe a solo movie is okay every once in a while. What works in this film is not a lot. But I do think the presence of the legacy characters, whenever they're tying it to the legacy characters and they're on screen, the movie pops. And it pops in ways when they're not there, you're just kind of left looking at your watch. And I'd say they have about equal screen time to like the legacy characters in the 2022 Scream. They're not like driving the story so much, but they do have a pretty firm impact, just as those characters did. Probably in this one even a little more firm, if I'm being frank. Yeah, so that's kind of the big quality this film has. The plot of this film follows the exact same thing as the first one, where kids out partying at night at the same curve accidentally cause an accident that results in somebody's death, and these 5 people choose to sit on it until a year later there is a note given to one of them saying, "I know what you did last summer," and from there the story moves in pretty predictable ways. Whereas the first film had a series of slowly building escalations, really like pulling the taffy of the tension before you finally get to the big slashery bits of that film. I think like, say what you will about I Know What You Did Last Summer, it is an effective slasher. It is scary. I think it's in a lot of ways scarier than the Scream movies. It's really tense. It's a lot dumber than them, but it is a scarier film. This is a tensionless film because it just kind of immediately goes for the jugular with really kind of tame kills. Like, the kills in this are not even nearly as inventive or graphic as they are in the two Scream makes, or Screamquels, that came out in 2022 and 2023. That being said, like I was saying, whenever you have the legacy characters on screen, the film pops and it starts working. And what this film does that no other legacy sequel has done that I have seen is take a big, bold swing. And for that, I give this movie props. Had it been executed, it's not particularly executed well. Had it been written by somebody with actual thoughts in their brain, they could have made it work. And we're going to touch on that in a spoiler section happening later. But I did want to acknowledge that the biggest thing this film has going for it, aside from its legacy characters, is a big swing that it takes. It is chancy, it is bold, it doesn't entirely work, but the fact that it's there is kind of interesting and fantastic because it did something, and that is more than I can say in a lot of ways for like Halloween or the Texas Chainsaw or Scream to some extent, or any number of these legacy sequels, The Force Awakens, Ghostbusters Afterlife. This does something that is really provocative, and I enjoyed that. That said, as I say, the film is not well written and doesn't have any characters in this that you are going to latch onto. Except for maybe Madelyn Cline, and that's mainly because the camera just loves her. Whenever she's on screen, she pulls the camera pulls towards her. She's interesting to watch. She is giving some kind of performance. Her character may be mind-numbing, but she's got something that pulls you to her. She has a draw. But the other characters are completely forgettable. And when people start getting picked off, you simply do not care. It's kind of remarkable. I said this is the second best installment of the franchise, and I stand by that. However, I would probably rather watch I Still Know, because at least that movie moves. This movie lumbers through its pace until you get to the nostalgia bits. And nostalgia doesn't work for me. I've always been pretty critical of it, but it's effectively used here until it's kind of not. But I think this makes it work, or it's either that or there's just so little of anything that me latching onto that is what keeps this film afloat. I didn't love this film, and I don't entirely recommend it, but at the same time, I also want to hear what your thoughts are with regard to the ending. So, from this point forward, I'm going to get into the spoiler talk. So if you do not want to be spoiled by I Know What You Did Last Summer, Part 3 and or 4, this is the time to hop off. It's not good, but I want to hear what you have to say, so check it out and let me know what you thought of the film in the comment area down below. Make sure you just preface if there's going to be spoilers. Thanks for watching. Okay. Everybody, from this point forward, I assume you want to know what the fuck happened at the end of this movie, and that is that everything I have to say moving forward is going to be about the legacy characters, because the new characters are pretty much a wash. When they start dying, I didn't care. When they started surviving, I also didn't care. There is a nightmare sequence wherein Helen Shivers returns, so we get Sarah Michelle Gellar in one of the best, if not the best, utilization of digital de-aging that I have ever seen. She looks plucked right out of 1997 and put on screen. There's maybe one shot where it doesn't entirely work, but holy crap, that was fantastic. And Sarah Michelle Gellar is the absolute highlight of this movie for her solo scene, and I think that speaks more to the quality of performer that she is than anything else this movie has to offer. Jennifer Love Hewitt is back, and I kind of dig where they brought her character. She reads a little Sidney Prescott, but she kind of always has. She's the poor man Sidney, and that's not her fault. She's a good actress. She reads more authentically Julie James than she did in I Still Know. Like this seems like a logical step for her to go. But I don't have a ton to say with her. Freddie Prinze Jr. gets all the praise in the world. For the first time in 30 years, he learned how to act, and he actually gives what I would constitute as an actual performance in this film. He's really quite good. And where they take his character is kind of dark. He is the posit dark character. Whenever you have these legacy sequels, they always typically give you your old heroes that you fell in love with, but they're sad, grumpy, and hate life now. And this is just kind of an extension of that. That's kind of always been his plot in all three of these films, just a little more so in this one. And so this one is a whodunit, just like the first one. But unlike the first one, this is a solvable whodunit. And I figured it out. I figured out who did it. However, they scream me, and there are two killers. One of them is a random girl that you're introduced to that you literally give zero shits about, who's part of the Core 5, who you find out is tied to the person that accidentally leads to the death in the car crash, but it's just kind of blah. The second killer is Ray. Freddie Prinze Jr. is the killer of the movie. He's the fisherman. Seems sort of like a soft correction to the original film where he probably should have been the killer. You can watch my review. I think I'll pop it right here. or right here, whichever side. Of that first movie, I did give praise to the film, but I think the worst aspect of it is that it's a whodunit that's not really solvable, but the movie works better once you're not trying to solve the whodunit. It plays so much better because there's so many hints to it throughout. This is a movie where I'm like, about a quarter of the way through, I was like, is Ray the killer? There's no way they would make Ray the killer. Like, what a bold move that would be. And then as the movie continued on and on and on, I was like, I think Ray is the killer in this movie. And so when Freddie Prinze Jr. is revealed to be the killer, I was in shock. And I loved what I saw. And the motivation was obvious. You go to that kid's grave, and he's born in like 1998, 1999, something like that. And I'm like, this is going to be Ray's kid. And now he is, he understands Ben Willis to some extent, right? The thing that would drive him to kill is that his kid was killed in the exact same accident that he was, and it's sort of like this soft correction, and that Julie James is either in on it too, or she's going to be the one to try and stop it. Spoiler alert, she's the one that tries to stop it. That being said, that's not the motive. The obvious motive that's there isn't there. It's that the girl that is the other killer comes to him, and who is connected to the one who died. He was like her advocate or something like that. And she tells Ray, and then they kind of hash this plot to kill these people and exact vengeance, which that doesn't seem like it makes sense. I would rewrite this in like 5 minutes flat to give a completely plausible reason as to why he is driven to this. There's even a line set up early in the film where you first meet Julie James, where she says trauma does terrible things to people. It changes them. And it certainly seems to have done that with Ray. They're not in a mutual relationship anymore, but I thought it was because they both lost a child 1 year prior, and Julie kind of knew that too. I thought they were both in on it. Turns out it's not the case. If there is an alternate ending to this and that turns out to be the case, I will not be shocked, and I will say that they're cowards for not sticking to that. That being said, Ray's the killer. Comes down to a final confrontation between Ray, our new survivor girl, who I couldn't be bothered to remember. He's already soft killed Madelyn Cline, or no, he didn't, the other girl did, but then she, spoiler alert, survives. But then it's a showdown between Ray and Julie, and she does the, what are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for? And then Ray gets killed. And it's like, bummer. They shouldn't have killed him. They should have left him linger to be in a sequel, because they set up a sequel. The boring character is the one that gets to live on, and we get to see whether or not they're still out there. And there's a post-credit scene with Brandy, and Julie goes to her saying, I got a note. This isn't over yet. Bum, 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 bum. I know what you did 30 years ago last summer. Stay tuned. Anyway, I give the movie props for actually doing something that none of these other films have done. Oftentimes they bring back these characters, these legacy characters, and they don't do anything with them. The Last Jedi did some stuff with Luke, but I would argue that that was sort of in line with his character anyway. None of these films took a chance by vilifying one of the heroes or anything of the sort, and I thought that was really quite unique and kind of spectacular. It's just executed so poorly that I feel like it's wasted. Fans are probably not going to respond to it if you do have a ton of reverence, but I give it a soft pass when it comes to that, and I'm curious to see what people have to say about this film that I don't love. But maybe I'll revisit this in a couple years' time. I've been watching these movies every, not Friday the 13th, what do you call it, every July 4th. So maybe 2 years down the line, when it's this film's turn, I'll give it a shot. But let me know what you thought of this film in the comment area down below. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.